Salutations everybody, it is Maddie here today, and as always, I hope this video finds you well, because I am doing well, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for asking, and the reason, you may be wondering, is that coincidentally, my mood hit this upswing last Friday, and that happened to be the same day that the Ghost of Tsushima Legends update had dropped. Now, for those who are unaware, this is the brand new update that has entered Ghost of Tsushima entirely free of cost, and it boasts a whole new multiplayer mode. Now, I'll admit, I stepped into this entirely as a skeptic. We did know from the get-go this would be free, there would be no microtransactions, and it almost sounded too good to be true. So I thought, okay, this will be devoid of some form of content, or it won't be as replayable, it'll just be a cool little thing. And man, oh man, was I way off the mark with my expectations, because this mode is so fantastic. It has brought me back to the glory days of the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, a multiplayer component to a game that I never expected to fall in love with, and I ended up sinking more hours into that than the base game itself. And I hope there are many other people out there on that lonely little island loving that Mass Effect 3 multiplayer as much as I do. And hopefully when that remastered collection comes around, it does boast the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, even though reports have suggested that's not the case. But anyway, off track here, Ghost of Tsushima Legends is fantastic, and yes, you guessed it, this is going to be an entire video dedicated to just raving about the pro-consumer move here that Sucker Punch and PlayStation combined have performed. This is one of those it's too good to be true moments in gaming, and I hope that a lot of developers that have a publisher with a lot of money, a lot of financial backing, and they see success with their game do reward their consumers' investment, quite like Sucker Punch has with Ghost of Tsushima. It's amazing that they've crafted this beautiful, fun to play in open world, a open world so dense that I spent almost half an hour here on CLS Side Quest breaking down to everyone all the different things you can do in the world, and then they also have this fully fleshed out multiplayer mode that is fantastic to boot. Not only that, but it's free of microtransactions. So the progression is fair, and it's not based around a monetization model at all, which is, I think, the most beautiful part. It's purely driven by gameplay. It's amazing. I don't remember the last multiplayer mode I saw that was free of loot boxes, that had you just completing challenges to unlock new cosmetics, or you gain XP and you access a skill tree, you can change up your gear. Like, it's amazing that this is something that exists here in 2020. And I know that's a sad comment to make, because it sort of speaks to the state of our multiplayer games in the industry. We've had a lot of fair multiplayer games, but almost all of them have some type of monetization model baked into it. To see this thing just standing out on its own is incredible, and Sucker Punch should be applauded whether you like it or not, just for the move they had made, providing a meaty mode full of content completely free of cost, because they could have easily monetized this in a number of ways, and they did make the decision not to, and I think it has made the game infinitely better for it. Ghost of Tsushima was already on my Game of the Year list. I enjoyed the story a lot more than I expected. I thought the open world was fantastic, and I liked how all of the side objectives actually, instead of driving you into action, took you away from the action, from haikus to sitting in hot springs, you name it, man. Like, this game is all about Zen, and I really appreciated that. So it was already up there on the list, and then adding this whole action-packed multiplayer mode is fantastic. And now it's not free of flaws. There are, flash bangs that happen to go off one too many times, making me feel like Tobey Maguire around the paparazzi.
I can't see! There are cars there, motherfucker!
But a quick breakdown for those who have not played this mode yet. There are 3 modes you can dive into. Story mode, there is survival mode, and there are also challenges which serve as the game's raids, so to speak. Now, I spent most of my time in the story and survival section. Story mode has a maximum of 2 players, and it does tell you this interesting tale about Io, and it's all based in mythology, which is very interesting compared to the base game, where they tease a lot of mythological elements, but it always boils down to some bandit. They'll say, oh, I think there's a kappa in the river, and you gotta go investigate it, and it's a group of bandits. And you're like, come on, man, stop pulling me along here. I just want the mythological stuff. This mode fully dives into that, and while the story didn't blow me away, it's narrated by Uncle Iroh from Avatar. I mean, It's just presentation-wise so entertaining. It's fun to listen to. It's not like it's going to drastically change your appreciation for the Ghost of Tsushima story, but I will say I picked up on a couple of things. A lot of the side tales that are in the base game, this multiplayer mode builds off of. So if you've done what I did, which is platinum the game, and you have a fresh memory of some of the stuff they talk about, you'll actually hear about those things that are mentioned in the base game here in the multiplayer mode. And so it kind of adds a little more depth to the lore, to the narrative that they're creating here at Sucker Punch, and I really did appreciate that as well. Still, the story mode works in general because it's fun to play through, given that it's just pure co-op. So coordinating stealth attacks, coordinating headshot arrow takedowns, messing around with your partner in combat where you're taking on hordes of enemies, it is extremely good fun. Not only that, but they boast a lot of interesting objectives for every mission. One in particular that stood out to me was attunements. So enemies will glow a certain color, whether it's blue, red, or green, and then there will be stones around the mission area that you'll have to acquire, and using these attunements will allow you to break through the enemy's defense. So let's say they had a green attunement, which was for storm. If for my character I acquired a storm attunement and I used it on this enemy, they would die almost instantaneously. Now you still could kill them even if you didn't have that attunement, but it would be much more difficult. So what it did was allowed me and my partner to coordinate, saying, hey, you hold them down, I'm gonna go get an attunement. I'd come in, take out a couple of enemies while he went and grabbed another one. And so there was this degree of working together, both in stealth and in action, and I think that worked marvelously well. Once again, something I truly did not expect at all. You can also use what's called a spirit bow, and that will break the attunement of an enemy. So it doesn't matter if you don't even have the proper attunement from a stone, it breaks that degree of monotony there, so it gives you more tools to work with. However, I didn't start with story mode. I went straight into survival mode, and I don't want to say I was worried off the bat, but I went in with a degree of caution because there are 4 classes that you can pick from between the samurai, the ronin, the hunter, as well as the assassin, but all of them just take a piece of Jin's kit from the base game and they sort of segment it off. So one is good at stealth takedowns, one is good at shooting a bow and arrow with increased draw speeds, one is better at fighting up close, one is mostly focused on supporting. However, each of them have their own special ability they can pull inside combat, and also a ultimate ability that can either take out a massive amount of enemies or heal/res your entire team. So as time goes on and you spend more time with these characters and you unlock different techniques throughout their skill tree by leveling up their individual classes, that's where it starts to really grow on you, where I go from just another part of Jin's kit to, say, a full-fledged assassin. So I understand for those of you who maybe just dipped your toes in, there is that initial concern that it just feels like you've got 4 Jin Sakais here in multiplayer mode, and everyone can do the same thing, just everyone is better at something than another. So for example, I played a lot of my time as the assassin, so I spent most of my time, you guessed it, on rooftops, planning out assassinations from above, sneaking around, getting people from behind, of course throwing down smoke bombs and doing mass assassinations. That was my character's specialty because one of my techniques allowed me to assassinate quicker than anyone else on my team. So by the time one of my teammates took out one person with an assassination, I was already moving on to my 3rd assassination. So it's that playing to the strengths that kind of surprised me as well there, where it felt like there was depth and worth in investing yourself in a particular class. And what's great is you don't get all 4 off the bat, so there is a degree of progression and a desire to push yourself moving forward, to go ahead and invest yourself in this multiplayer mode, lose yourself to it, because it's not just this co-op mode, it's not just survival, there are plenty of maps and then there are plenty of difficulties to play it on. So it's actually pretty tough on the get-go. If you hop like I did straight into survival mode, you're gonna get your butt kicked because you'll be a little under-leveled, but even then, it's pretty tough. In survival mode, there are 3 different points you've got to go ahead and defend, and so you're going to be kind of like web-slinging your way around the entire map, and it's actually really, really mobile. It's very different in a way. It still feels like Ghost of Tsushima, however, and so it's been an absolute blast to go into, and once again, a lot of this is raved about, not because it's revolutionary, but because it's entirely free, and there's no strings attached. There's no like, oh, that's the gotcha moment there. Oh, I get why this is now free. There is none of that. It is just a lot of maps, a lot of modes, a lot of content, a lot of unlockables, all entirely for free, raising Ghost of Tsushima higher on the bar for a lot of people. And this is a great strategic move by Sucker Punch and PlayStation, because a lot of games earlier in the year, yes, even when Ghost of Tsushima came out in July, a lot of games get lost in the discussion because the fall is full of a whirlwind of titles. We can look at November and see just how many games are coming out. And so dropping a multiplayer mode right before that entire storm that's free, that's consumer friendly, and entirely surprises people will help keep this game in the Game of the Year conversation, keep it fresh in people's mind, keep the conversation going about the title. It's a very, very smart move to earn a lot of goodwill for the game, and I imagine bump it up on some award lists, let's be honest. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I leave you with this. I think Ghost of Tsushima Legends is fantastic. If you have the game, please do give it a whirl. This also comes with New Game Plus for those who are interested, but I was not looking into that at all. I just wanted to try out this multiplayer mode, and it was much, much better than I had ever expected. So I leave it in your hands. I'm looking forward to seeing what you all have to say. Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll talk to you there. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.